Hello and welcome to Cricket Kadaigai, where I talk about five micro stories from a game. And today's game for review is the Pakistan versus Netherlands game that happened yesterday at the Hyderabad Stadium. And what a game it was for Netherlands. I hope they would have won it. Of course, it was in hope that an association can somehow make it, but it didn't happen. But nevertheless, here are our five micro stories from the game. The first one. I like the way Scott Edwards, the captain, was disappointed at their performance. It showed that they were hungry because somewhere I did see a social media post that they were looking at a semi-final slot, and that's exactly how I want an associate to go and play for victory. But they were outplayed by some very strong Pakistan bowling, but let down by very poor shot selection against high quality pace. It's the same high quality pace that also undid them in Trivandrum when they were up against the Aussie attack. But 120 for two. They even went till that. 120 for two in 23 overs. They at that point had a 40% chance of winning that game. And then from there, Vikramjit Singh played that shot of Shadab Khan. The shot was on, but I think it was a long hop literally, but it turned the other way. So as a result, it just went straight to deep mid wicket for a catch where Fakhar Zaman held on, finally held on. And after that, they just collapsed 64 for 7 and 78 balls. The last thing a team like Netherlands needs is to have a collapse, because with that their win percentage chances just goes for a toss. It becomes very tough to recover from such chases. But the good part, of course, is the second part of our story is how they've outplayed the Pakistan top order. This Pakistani top order, that has a very high dependence in totals where they've had less than 300 runs over the last few years. Their top order usually bats for 155 balls. That's close to 26 overs. But yesterday it was 52 balls, less than 9 overs. So they were able to go put pressure. And I love the way they used unorthodox field settings for somebody like Babar Azam on the leg side by having a silly mid on, then a short mid wicket, and then that's the way Babar actually got out. Where he was caught pulling the ball out to mid wicket. And Babar is somebody who had a runs per innings of about 74 against Netherlands. He's that clutch player who always comes good against some of these not so strong nations. As much as he's a very good stroke player, my perception is that Babar Azam on juicy conditions is not the same player as he is on some of the flat tracks and against nations that don't have very strong bowling attacks. That also requires some amount of mental resolve to continuously go there and score hundreds. But he had a high runs per innings expectation, at least because he had 7. He had that number, but he had a bad matchup against Aryan Dutt, who had actually taken him thrice in about 40 balls before this game. He was brought on, added to the pressure. Aryan bowled very well yesterday, and I think he was the second most impactful performance as per the way I had seen. He made Imamul Haq quite nervous with his off spin, and and this is where I think they bowled very well. Netherlands stuck to their plan, got the top order. But here are my observations. If Pakistan's top order had done well, this was a 300 plus wicket, which they somehow huddled to get to 280 plus. Very similar to the way England, where you had these very useful lower middle order contributions. Well, it's good that you have the lower order strength to prop up the batting, but the key really is your top order to build on a start and then accelerate, because you trust the top order, just the way New Zealand did it. And I think that's why teams like India, New Zealand, and South Africa have an advantage, because they have a very strong, core top three. India doesn't have a very strong middle, low middle and lower middle. That's something that I'm worried about. But it's better to get to 320 assured with your top order than to struggle in between and somehow have your lower order contributions take you to 280. 280, 286 that they scored yesterday, I think would have it's won the game for them against Netherlands. But I'm not sure it would have won the game against stronger nations, just like the way England discovered against New Zealand. The third story is about Pakistan's middle order. It was a great effort by a newbie. It's 8th ODI. That's all he's playing. He batted like an experienced campaigner. In fact, his rearguard attack reminded me of Aravinda in the 96 semi-final. He just comes out and scores. And I think Saud Shakeel also made this comment in the post-match presentation that if he came hard at the Netherlands bowlers, he was talking with Rizwan. He felt that these guys would feel the pressure, and he was right, because the more he started attacking, Netherlands also started, feeling the pressure, and as a result, started bowling loose balls. He ended up with 68 or 51, which to me was the most impactful performance for Pakistan. What it also did is gave a certain reassurance to the middle and tail, saying I have the confidence to motor on and somehow we get to a decent total, because Pakistan trusts their bowling more than their batting. So he was the best performer for me yesterday, and that is my third story. The fourth is the return of Shadab Khan. See, there were rumors that he might not make the cut to the World Cup 15, but he was persistent and he delivered well yesterday. Now, that's a good sign in terms of players being persistent, because Pakistan has a very random policy of sometimes not telling why a person is not selected or why a person suddenly makes it to the side. But yesterday, thanks to him being persistent, he delivered a strong batting performance. He was getting the ball to turn. There were a couple of times that I remember it beat the bat like a beautiful leg break. But Shadab still finished with a rather expensive 1 for 48 in 8 overs. But I think Shadab's innings, the batting helped Pakistan consolidate at the end, finished with a total that was always going to test the patience of Netherlands, a side like Netherlands. But the other question here is, okay, when I say return of Shadab Khan, it's also in conjunction with the fact that Shadab's a middle over bowler as well as a middle order bat, and the combine of Shadab Khan and Nawaz actually did decently, 2 for 66 in 15 overs from both of them. So my sense is they're not your penetrative bowlers against stronger sides, but I think against sides like Netherlands, they do help add pressure, because I saw that Nawaz got the most important wicket of Tim the leader. He could have taken the game away, but he didn't, and that is our fifth story, where we're talking about Netherlands superhero. I actually said Tim de Leader. It was actually Bas de Leader. Tim de Leader was, of course, his father, and he had played for Netherlands in the 1996 and the 2003 editions of the World Cup. But talking about Bas, I think his performance versus Pakistan is always a shade higher than his normal performances. And I just happened to look at some stats. On an average, his runs per innings is 26. Against Pakistan, it's 38. Yesterday, he scored a lot more, 62. And then his average wickets is about 1 wicket every game. He does 1.67 wickets a game against Pakistan. So that way, I think this guy is a champion performer for them, picking wickets, scoring runs, carrying the hopes of that little nation. But unfortunately, couldn't take them to the finish line. I was curious to see if Bas the leader, if he batted till the 40th, 45th over, would he be able to, take them on? Because their lower middle order is actually quite decent. It is just that yesterday they were undone by pace, like Scott Edwards going to Roff and Nidamanaru also getting caught trying to hook a ball. But the way I looked at Paul Van Meekeren, the way he came out and tried scoring runs, it looked like they had a decent tail that could at least support. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. But Bas the leader, the bowler, he bowled a great cross seam ball to get Rizwan out bowled, and also Iftikhar was out caught behind. And that this was actually reminded me of Razak for some reason. But he again followed up with the wickets of Shadab and Hassan. And this was so important, where in between the 40th and 45th over, there were these wickets, 4 wickets that Bas the leader got. What that did is it brought that win percentage down from about 68% that Pakistan had to about 57%. So the last 10 overs for Pakistan didn't go as well as it should have gone. That was the impact of his spell, but unfortunately, Roff and Shaheen added some very important runs at the end, and that way the total went to about 286. It was maybe beyond reach, because even at the best, at 120 for 2 in the 23rd over, Netherlands still only had a 40% chance. But I think, yeah, they've done well in their first game, at least in making or convincing themselves that they belong to the big stage. It's going to take a lot more resolve to not make the same mistakes that they've done here. And of course, when he batted, I loved the way he swelled and hit Roff for a 6 to deep square leg. A lot of Twitter users are pointing to how Roff bowled a bouncer and hurt his eye last year. So after that 6, there was a wink by Dalida to Roff, who was threatening to finish the game after that double wicket, over which with Roff bowled. It's just knocked all hopes that Netherlands had. So those were my 5 micro stories. Hope you enjoyed the 5 micro stories in the game. Stay subscribed to Cricket Kadai.